So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, the undisputed fight. The fight that is massive for boxing, massive for British boxing, probably the biggest fight in British boxing history. And there's talk of negotiations being, underway for that fight. A lot of it would have to do with, step aside money for Kubrat Pulev. Well, we haven't heard anything about step aside money for Kubrat Pulev, but we've definitely heard about it for Deontay Wilder on Fury's side. There's a few things I want to talk about here in this article, which is from ESPN. Now, I'm going to read this full article for you here. I'm going to pick my bits. I'm going to start by reading out the start of this article. Now, this was with an ESPN reporter called Mark Kerrigal. I think it's how you pronounce it. It's K-R-I-E-G-E-L. Okay? This is the guy who is reporting on this. So it says, negotiations are underway for a potential blockbuster heavyweight unification title fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia or elsewhere on the Arabian Peninsula. Fury's advisors MTK, which is based in Dubai, is negotiating for Fury on behalf of its co-promoters Top Rank and Frank Warren of Queensberry Promotions. MTK is awaiting an offer from promoters in Saudi Arabia. This is what sources told ESPN Boxing. It says that MTK is handling negotiations because of a rift between Fury and Warren of Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. Sources said the offer to Fury would have been large enough to pay Deontay Wilder, who was coming off surgery, to waive his contractual rights to an immediate rematch. Fury obviously knocked Deontay Wilder out in the third fight in February, and the third fight is tentatively planned for later this year, but I'd say it's highly unlikely that we would get that. So what else do we have here? We also have quotes here from Eddie Hearn, and it says, we're talking to MTK about where the fight should take place. This is actually what Eddie Hearn's actually told ESPN. At the moment, the main focus for everybody is contractual situations. So obviously we know with Anthony Joshua and his Kubrat Pulev mandatory, and we know with Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, the trilogy. He was referred to Joshua scheduled a fight against mandatory challenger Kubrat Pulev, as well as Fury contracted to fight Deontay Wilder. The Joshua Pulev fight was scheduled for June 20, but was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Love that, pandemic. The conversation between myself and MTK, this is what Eddie Hearn to say. The conversation between myself and MTK are that we've been approached. We've had a number of approaches from territories to stage the fight, so the only discussion at the moment are where the fight takes place, and we don't even know when this fight could take place. We're certainly open to having discussions about the possibility of this fight happening this year or in his next fight. There's more chance at the moment that the bigger money could come next year, because we don't even know if we can do live crowds in November and December. So that's the words of Eddie Hearn, ESPN, and everyone. So bit of a long-winded one there. I was watching Mark from Unrivaled Boxing's video this morning on this subject, and he touched on some excellent points. He doesn't see this fight happening this year, nor does he actually see it happening next year either. And the more I think about it, the more I think he's right. The more I think someone's going to get stripped. Probably Anthony Joshua, because Kubrat Pulev has been mandatory now for, come October, 2 years. So he won his shot. We've got Alexander Usyk waiting in the wings. Eventually, I would imagine the WBA will announce a mandatory sooner rather than later, because we're going on 2 years. We're going on a year. Was it a year? No, we're going on 2 years since AJ had a mandatory defense of his WBA title. So you would imagine that mandatories are going to stand in the way. You would imagine that money probably won't be an issue. Although saying that, who knows what's going on in the Arabian Peninsula with, all this lockdown stuff. It's sad that the UK is not being mentioned, because you're talking about the biggest fight in British boxing history, essentially, not happening in the UK, happening in potentially Saudi Arabia. That's just a stinker, and they're saying that it's unlikely it'll happen this year. It won't happen this year. I doubt that they'll probably ease restrictions on social gatherings come November, December, but they're not going to let 90,000 people flock to a stadium. That's just not going to happen, It just isn't, and he'd probably get backlash from it, truth be told. Like, even if the governments or anything like that said, we could probably get away with doing you know, AJ versus Fury in Wembley Stadium, 90,000, you'd probably have so many people moaning that, like, you know, you'll not flatten the curve, that they probably wouldn't. Which is sad in a way, because I really want to see this fight. And the fact that it's being talked about, you know, happening, you know, in Saudi Arabia and all those countries, you know, yeah, the time difference is actually fine for us because it's actually on a little bit earlier. I think when AJ fought Ruiz, that fight was done and all by what, 9:30? So your evening was still kind of fresh in the mind. But, you know, I want, like, obviously I'm not British, I live in Ireland, but loads of Irish people go over to the UK to watch these fights. And for us, and for people in the UK, we'd want that fight in the UK. You know, I agree with Mark. We all want that fight in the UK. It makes more sense to have it in the UK. But who knows? Who knows if and when we're going to get it? Like, this could be another story, and Mark said it himself, of where a fight gets talked about and talked about and talked about, and it just doesn't happen. You know, for whatever reason, it just gets talked about, but we just don't see it. A bit like Bo and Lewis, you know, all the talking, but we never get a chance to see it. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we do get a chance to see this fight because I want to see it. I think it's an excellent fight. I've seen Wilder versus Fury. I've seen it twice. I don't want to see it a third time. I don't want to see AJ versus Pulev because I think we all know how that's going to go. So, give us undisputed. I think that's what everyone wants. That's what everyone is, you know, striving for. We all want undisputed. That's what we want. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, of course, if you are new. And as always, I will talk to you. So before I go, I just want to say thank you for dropping by the channel. I really do appreciate it. I mean, all the support, all the things that have happened on this channel over the last year have been incredible. If you're new to the channel, as you see on screen there's a couple of like older videos that I have. Some of them aren't really relevant now, to be fair, but some of them are, like my Fighters with a Problem series, stuff like that. If you like any of this, please subscribe. Like the video you just watched, share it, do it, all you got to do. Let's try and keep this channel going because I love doing this and I love interacting with the fans and I love hopefully the fans love watching my videos. So thank you for dropping by. I've been G-Man. I will talk to you.